What's up, everyone? It's Karthik with Moneyvest. Welcome on board for our Wednesday market open live stream. Hope you all are doing great. Pre-market, we've got the QQQs slightly higher, 24 basis points up. We've got S&P 500 pushing up over 28 basis points. Tesla is up over 1%. We got Nvidia pushing up over 1%. So we are seeing that momentum coming back in some of these individual stocks here as volatility continues to slide lower, down another 1.5%, trading down to low 16s as crypto is getting that momentum once again, trading back up to over $93,000. It's up over 2% so far on the day, and Ethereum also trading back to over $3,000 as a lot of crypto ETFs and stocks are also pre-market pumping right now. So you got BITX up over 4.7%, BMNR is up over 5.4%. Of course, we got Ethereum ETFs also pushing higher pre-market. So hope you all are doing great. We do have some economic data to break down and to go over. So we're going to take a look at that. And don't forget, we got the Fed meeting in about a week. So next Wednesday is when the next Federal Reserve and the final Federal Reserve meeting for 2025 is. And of course, that is very much leaning towards a rate cut in this next meeting. That's going to be the third and final rate cut of 2025, lowering interest rates by about 75 basis points total. And this one, of course, is going to be 25 basis points, so the third and final rate cut. So mortgage applications are down week over week about 1.4%. Consensus was about a 20 basis points worth of growth. And then ADP numbers also came out with a 32,000 job losses versus the consensus of 20,000 job gains. So that is a 52,000 job swing versus gains versus actual losses here. So that's a pretty substantial number. And again, this is only going to be putting more pressure on the Federal Reserve to actually cut interest rates. So good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And we're going to talk about IREN. I'm gonna definitely touch base on the convertible bonds as well. Because I know that's been very much an important question. And then there's also questions around the Japan, raising interest rates to really just tackle their stubborn inflation. And as a result, what that's going to do to the carry trade that's been ongoing for a really long time, as Japan has kept interest rates really, really low for a long time. And as a result, it's been very common for traders to borrow in yen, invest in high yielding assets in US dollars. So it was very, very cheap to actually borrow yen and then buy US dollars with them to actually invest in US fixed income or even equities. But as people start taking on more risk, if they're investing in crypto, and as we're seeing on the other side of the trade, interest rates start to go up in Japan, it becomes more expensive to borrow yen. And then, of course, you've also got to repay your loans in a yen, as it is also interest rates are going higher. As a result, that does lead to some mass liquidation in crypto, in equities. That's exactly what happened in August of last year as well. So we're seeing a little bit of those similar trends, but more so in the crypto space as opposed to equities. But yes, we will definitely discuss that in more detail as well, because any of those are opportunities for us to, of course, buy and dollar cost average further as well. So let's see. Please go over IREN and Nebula. Which one is better stock to invest now for swing trade? If none, what else for swing trade for December? So IREN has been pulling back, aggressively down over 15% yesterday after the fact that they did raise about $2.3 billion in convertible note offering, $1 billion in 2032, another $1 billion in 2033. And the buyers of this convertible bond have the right to purchase an additional $150 million worth of equity each, which totals to about $300 million. So combined, we're looking at $2.3 billion offering. Of course, the company is going to use that to retire their older debt, as well as for all the working capital and for the expansion. As I mentioned before, this is a cautiously positive news for the stock, for any company that actually does a convertible bond offering, because what that really does is allow the buyer of the bond with upside potential. So it's not capped, right? So they're going to get paid interest while they wait. And then, of course, there's going to exercise price, right? Conversion price, so to speak. So if that crosses, the bond buyer can actually convert their debt into equity, which leads to massive dilution, right? So over $2.3 billion worth of dilution for a company that's only worth $11.6 billion is huge, right? We're talking about 20% of the actual equity diluted if it were to get exercised at the conversion price sometime in the future. So that's exactly one of the reasons why the stock is going down 15%. It's pretty obvious. But at the same time, this is, in my opinion, a cautiously positive news, because if IREN can use that money to actually execute on the plan and the market positioning remains favorable, then this can be one of the best buying opportunities for the long term as well. How come? Because it's actually cheaper for any company to issue convertible bonds as opposed to straight up go out there and start raising debt. Although I'm of the idea that you don't want to give up so much equity. If you can raise debt, maybe you're paying a few more percentage points in interest. That's more prudent as opposed to offering convertible bonds. But of course, to each their own. So it really comes down to execution, right? How the company uses this capital and what are they going to be using it for? And is that going to lead to higher expansion, more revenue, more growth? And market positioning needs to be favorable. That is the most important thing. Is right now, of course, we're going through a huge cycle of artificial intelligence and cloud computing and data centers. I mean, this is the big buzz around this market. But a year from now, 2 years from now, if that starts to kind of die down, then it's really important for us to reevaluate what's going to be the future for IREN, because the debt is not going to go away. The convertible bonds are there. The debt is certain. What's not certain is, of course, the growth of this sector and how successful the company is going to be and what the execution is going to look like. So really important to kind of understand those nuances before making a call. And one more thing is, obviously we get kind of wrapped. Crypto is so back, Walter is saying. We definitely do get wrapped around the fact that whether this is positive or negative. But the most important question we need to be asking is, or not really a question, but the observation is that this indeed happened, right? It's not the question of whether it's good or bad is secondary. The primary observation is that they did indeed issue convertible bonds. So they are issuing, more debt to raise capital. So that's going to be a quick take on IREN. Let's take a look at SoFi as well. Yep, SoFi has also been known to doing a lot of this convertible bond, raises, raising capital through convertible bonds, and of course issuing equity to dilute shareholders. But again, like I said, execution is really what matters, because any public company can go out there to an investment bank and be like, you know what, we want to raise capital. Help us find money through public markets, and they can do that. But what they use this capital for is the most important piece, because if you're paying, let's say you're doing a convertible bond and you're paying like 4%, 5% interest, if you're not generating at least 5%, whatever the rate of interest is, whatever the cost of debt is, plus a few percentage points over and above in return from that invested money, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So if anybody's doing a convertible bond or is just raising capital through debt, you need to have a very strong idea on where you're going to be using that capital for. Because without that plan, it becomes quite dangerous. Okay, so SoFi, a lot of consolidation sideways, resistance all the way up to as much as $32, $33, resistance all the way up to $30 as well. Support levels got closer to $24, $25 for SoFi. Yeah, identical to IREN as well, 100% agreed. But one thing I will point to is that SoFi, in my personal opinion, has a more defensible moat long term, and also a sector in the industry that they belong to is going to be a very, very long term, pathway for SoFi. IREN is also fantastic. The way they've pivoted away from crypto mining over to data centers, but that's exactly the whole point, right? They've kind of pivoted away to a different industry where the opportunity is. Is there going to be a demand supply equilibrium 2 to 3 years out? That's why I consider IREN more of a short to midterm play. Long term, we really have to have that visibility on how much supply there's going to be for data centers, for AI compute. And is IREN going to be able to compete with some of those hyperscalers that are investing tons of money in building more capacity and more supply? Jojo, thank you so much. Kudos again for the new Moneyvest website and mobile. Been playing, exploring the great features. Thank you so much. And the financial statements are still under development, so they are going to be coming out soon. But right now, you can definitely access a lot of other analyzers. Earnings volatility, bear market declines, the Moneyvest metrics is available, company overview, all of that is still there. But yes, we're just kind of fine tuning a few of the details, and by the end of this month, you will have the full website functioning based on the older version. So elite investors, analyst estimates, all those things, economic calendar, all that's going to be added. And then starting January, we're going to be adding new features that we are working on. So a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of data sets that I think are going to be super helpful. So all of that is going to be coming out starting 2026. Okay, can we take a look at Adobe? Thoughts on HIMS? Let's go over that together here. The shortage in NVIDIA GPUs is driving data center companies like IREN to receive deals. Blue chips want to secure this commodity. Yes, that's really the whole game plan, right? I mean, a lot of people are just fighting to get their hands on these chips to build capacity to then offer it to companies that want to use this AI compute. And that's why there's a huge opportunity. And that's one of the reasons why NVIDIA is also struggling from its own success. Why? Because they are all sold out. Like, they can't sell fast enough, for all the GPUs that they're building. And that creates the void for Alibaba, for Google, for AMD to come in and kind of capture a little bit of that market, because NVIDIA is sold out. I mean, it's almost impossible to get your hands on GPUs from NVIDIA, because there's so many companies already in the line just buying up every piece of supply that's coming in. But yeah, let's take a look at Adobe here. Adobe's been on a consistent downtrend, lower highs and lower lows. It's been selling off inside this downtrend here. So we're trading at that support at 318, 319. If you do get a little bit of a reversal, we got a resistance all the way up to as much as 337, 336. I would say it is, very, very low volumes, still trading inside the downtrend. So I would be careful with Adobe. Even fundamentally speaking, I think Adobe is good, but the momentum is starting to lose out a little bit. It's not really, it's kind of like, very similar to PayPal, where fundamentals are good, companies growing, revenues are good, earnings are good, balance sheet's good, but the stock just can't seem to find any momentum. Nothing. So coming back over to HIMS also consolidating here, and quadruple resistance getting rejected. Support level roughly around $34, $35. Did push higher, got rejected again, $39, $40, starting to rotate back down. And that is going to be that support at $34, $35 for HIMS. Okay. Do you ever enter a trade when the MACD line crosses, or is that not a good fundamental indicator? So it's below the average and it crosses, it's bullish. Is the 4-hour, 1-day time frame best? So, Rick, lots of questions there. So it's not a fundamental indicator. It's more of a technical indicator, and it's more of a momentum indicator. It's one of the many other indicators that you want to consider when you are looking at technicals. So for me, I like to keep things super simple. As I mentioned before, less is more. Looking at the price action is way more important to me than looking at a lot of other indicators, because in my personal experience, I think that's been it's proven to be more successful than anything else. When it comes to MACD, yes, that's a good signal. RSI is also a pretty good signal, oversold. But just because a stock is oversold does not mean that it cannot get more oversold. It cannot get sold even more. Get sold off further. Always remember, the stock can get cut in half. Doesn't matter where it's trading at. If it's down over 50%, can it go down another 50%? It's a simple math question. If a stock drops 50%, can it drop another 50%? And would that mean that it comes down to zero? No, right? So any number you take it, any number, you can always cut it in half, right? You can always cut it in half, right? So it can always drop another 50%. So when it comes to technicals, looking at the price action, support, resistance levels for me has been the most important thing. And now coming back to the time frame question, it really depends on what it is that you're trading. Obviously, if you're going to be day trading, 1 minute, 5 minute, 30-minute charts are better. If you're swing trading, then 4-hour, 1-day, and even weekly charts tend to be a lot more valuable than shorter time frames. So really, it just depends on your objective, style, and the goals there, right? So next, Moneyvest brokerage platform. Well, the thing is that we want to offer something different. We don't want to offer things that are already out there. So that's why we've created these data sets and these models that are not readily available. Like obviously the Moneyvest index is pretty custom to our own platform and our philosophy and what we like to track. But moving forward, we're going to be, making this super data heavy, where you can essentially look at things like the RSI dashboard, right? Look at the where the current RSI reading is, what percentile rank we're putting in the markets are, and then historically speaking, the bell curve and a lot of different kinds of analysis that is going to be out there. So things, like I said, that are not readily available out there. Of course, we got to start with the basic stuff. So fundamentals are there. You can do a full stock analysis, things like that. But the goal really is to build things that are out of the box, like the volatility percentile, right? The spreadsheet that I show you. So for example, this spreadsheet that we have, we're going to put that on the website very soon. So you can pretty much take a look at, okay, where is the VIX, right? Where's the VIX trading at? So where's the volatility? And what percentile are we trading in? And whether that's a good or a bad signal to dollar cost average in the market. Then we're going to put up the total observations, days spent above a certain level, below a certain level. So you get like a good bird's eye view of these indicators. So again, there's more and more studies out there that we can create looking at this macro data that is not readily available. So again, we want to do something different, not what's already being done out there. So our competition is not with TradingView. TradingView is the best platform I've ever seen for technical analysis and charting. Brokerages, obviously there's a lot of regulation there, but some of the best ones, Robinhood, IBKR, Charles Schwab, like all these are great brokers. But we really want to provide the best macro and fundamental analysis on stocks and on the market. That's really the whole point, is to make everyone super confident, because the more data that you understand, the more things you know. Like I know for a fact that if volatility gets up to over 60, like I do not have to look at anything else. I know for a fact that it's a very, very rare event. We're in the 99 percentile. That's my cue to buy, right? Same with the Moneyvest index. I know that if it comes down below 2.5 or 2 or lower, right? If we come down to panic like we did back in April, we were at 1.83. I can close my eyes and I can dollar cost average because it's been back tested, right? I understand the data. And so the more data you understand, the more confident you become with your decisions. And that's really the whole idea, is to make this a beast of a platform for macro and fundamentals, and definitely need your help and insights to make it happen. Okay. Adobe needs to be more than just a PDF company with insanely difficult cancellation procedure. I know, it's crazy. I've kind of given my whole rant about them in my previous updates. So Trump stated that he's ready to go shift his focus and go all in on robotics. What robotic stocks are you looking at? I mean, Tesla. Like, I think they're the only ones. And Jensen Huang said this many times. I think Tesla's the only company that's working so aggressively on the next generation technology for AI, which is physical AI, right? So AI in the real world, and that's going to be robotics. That's going to be done through actual robots. And that's, in my personal opinion, I think, forget about EVs, forget about energy, forget about autonomous as well, although that's pretty big market. Robotics is going to be the biggest market moving forward. The biggest market is going to be robotics, because I think the application for robotics is huge, and also the profit potential is massive. It's massive because the cost for companies is significantly less. When you really just compare, and again, that's. There's always that debate, right? Whether, humans are going to get replaced. And a lot of these companies, I mean, for Amazon, for example, is displacing a lot of workforce within their manufacturing facilities and warehouses with robots. Yes, and that's unfortunate, right? But for every company, that's what they're looking out to do. Like, they're trying to lower cost, increase bottom line, and to serve the shareholders. So from that context, it's in my opinion one of the biggest markets. Whether that's objectively good or bad, of course, that's a different debate, discussion, but robotics, in my opinion, is going to be one of the biggest markets out there. Okay. Good morning, Moneyvest Nation. Good morning. Any thoughts on Michael Burry? Tesla ridiculously overvalued. I mean, he says those things once every few weeks, so who cares? I've been trying to wrap my head around the underperformance of SCMI, such a huge mode. Perhaps you can look at the fundamentals for me to make it make sense. SCMI, or is it SMCI? I'm going to assume it's SMCI because SCMI is some Selkirk Copper Mines company out of Canada. which I'm assuming is not what you meant. Unless you are investing in Canadian mineral companies, let me know. What are your thoughts on this whole Google AI versus OpenAI thing I keep seeing? What is it that you're seeing, Mario? If you care to elaborate. But I think, so I've personally been using ChatGPT way more than Gemini. I think Google has significantly more data to work with than OpenAI. But I've just noticed in my personal experience that ChatGPT is significantly better than Gemini. And I think Dave and I were talking about the same exact thing, is that the ChatGPT seems to be better in a lot of different things, right, than Gemini. So, but again, there's a market for them to coexist. It's not a winner take all event. I like Grok. I've actually never experienced Grok. Like, I've never used Grok. It's one of the only AI models, that and then Anthropic are the only two that I've never used. Yeah, I think I need to give it a try. I definitely need to give it a try because I've heard good things. Would you put something like TradingView and Moneyvest platforms so people will not buy TradingView as well? So that's the thing, right? I mean, technical analysis, we can have pretty elementary technical analysis features on the platform, but that is not what we're competing with, because TradingView is a full-fledged app, right? It's a full platform that is, you can write custom code, you can literally publish scripts, you can add 1,000 different indicators and drawing tools and whatnot. So I think it's not going to be replacing TradingView. Maybe for people who don't need all of that, maybe for people who just want the basic technical analysis, I think yes, there's definitely use cases for that. But as I said, if you are super into technical analysis, then TradingView, there's nothing better than that. And I don't think any company can come close to competing with TradingView because they've made it super easy. But our focus is different. It's more on the macro data and fundamentals, like spreadsheets. Like I like to work with spreadsheets a lot. So all the spreadsheets that I'm building are eventually going to end up on the platform. It's going to give you a full breakdown of all the data that's out there. Okay. Thanks. I also like the support and resistance. It works best, and you really help me understand. So it's all good. Thank you so much. Perfect. Awesome. IREN tied to Bitcoin on the way down, but not on the way back up. I know, right? Double standards from IREN here. On the way down, it'll just keep selling off on the back of Bitcoin. But I think the more recent sell-off is all thanks to the convertible debt. I could see sub 40 for IREN, if I'm being honest. I think short term wouldn't surprise me if it actually ends up trading down in the 30s, mid to high 30s. And as I'm kind of holding back a little bit, I'm just not... Technically, it looks a little weak, and so I haven't picked up IREN recently. So if it does end up under 40, closer to like mid to low 30s is where I'm like looking at picking up shares. IREN keeps diluting its. I know, crazy. If you want to do cash secured puts, Amazon for robotics also agreed. Any company that's going to be spending massively on robotics, I think is going to have huge potential. If you want to do cash secured puts, and we need to have enough cash positions, right? And if I have a covered call, can I be able to sell the position, which is part of covered call contract? No. So all your collateral is going to be tied up. If you're selling a put, you need to have enough cash set aside for the 100 shares that you're going to be obligated to buy if it's in the money. And if you're selling a covered call, you need to have enough shares set aside to cover that covered call. If you have, let's say, 100 shares and you sell one covered call, then that 100 shares is going to be acting as collateral. And you cannot sell like 5 shares out of that 100. You might get an error message unless, of course, you're approved for like naked options. And then in that case, it should be fine. But then just be mindful that you have that shortfall. If you have 150 shares and you sell one covered call, then yes, of course, not all 150 are going to be tagged, just 100, and 50 are just open for you to trade. Okay, SMCI. Yes, let's take a look. I was wondering what stock it is. So I think SMCI has gone through a bit of a ringer this year. I think with accounting issues. different fundamental corporate governance issues. The company has just been all over the place, and at the end of the year, it's just standing at a 6% gain. Support level is going to stay put at 31.50. The volumes come down quite a bit for this stock, and resistance is going to be packed all the way up to $59.60. So yes, it does look pretty solid from a swing trade perspective, pretty oversold on the weekly, and there may be an opportunity for us to capture this, momentum back up, but pretty strong support at $30-$31. If it does end up breaking down, then I think $22-$23 is going to be that next support to watch for SMCI. Do you think we can see the yen carry trade blow up 2.0? I heard that probability of Bank of Japan rate hike is significant. This might trigger VIX spike like the historical 5th of July. Yes, so it is possible, but I think it's going to be more contained to crypto this time than it is to equities, and I think we might already be seeing that. Crypto selling off is not all on the back of this risk off. I think this crypto, tends to be a bit more over leveraged in the first place anyway. So there is a little bit of that unwinding of that leverage from the system. So I think the yen carry trade blow up can show up in different markets. And I think last time we saw it in equities, obviously volatility spiking up and tech got absolutely demolished. But I think this time around, crypto also has a little bit of, exposure in that trade. What are my thoughts on NEO? I think NEO seems to be a little too distracted. It's a company with great potential, but lack of execution is what I have to say. So, of course, it gives us hope. It gives us a little bit of hope every so often by pushing up, and then eventually it's like PayPal. It's very similar to PayPal. PayPal gives us that little ray of hope. It's a tease. That's what it is. Some stocks are just pure tease, and PayPal is one of those. Tesla's been acting a bit of a tease lately, but yeah, some stocks are just a big tease. They go up, they give us a little bit of hope, only to pull the rug right from underneath us. We know this story. We know how it ends. We've been through this cycle over and over again. I've been through this cycle with PayPal multiple times to a point where I just needed to pull the plug, and I was like, I'm so done with this. So done with this. You're a Tesla shareholder, you must use Grok. Yeah, I'm going to try that. Grok is Elon's personality mixed with ChatGPT. Interesting. Okay, I'll definitely give it a try. Have you tried Gemini 3.0 Pro? That I'd say is well above ChatGPT is. I got to try that as well. Grok often disagrees and corrects Musk. It's always interesting. Agentic AI, LLM models, like they're fantastic. I love, even in my drives, like I love to put on the audio chat with the AI and just like talk ideas and talk about things, and they're great for obviously daily conversations and getting answers and becoming more knowledgeable, because I also treat it somewhat as like a podcast where I would just like ask a lot of questions and it'll just come up with some facts. But at the end of the day, like it's also very interesting that it doesn't have all the answers. It does not have all the answers. It only has the answers to what we know, right? So the output is just as good as the input, right? The input is everything that we have created. So yeah, it's a fascinating discussion around artificial intelligence and how it's going to evolve and what it's going to do to our society as a whole long term. A lot of things to consider for sure. So Microsoft dropping pre-market. Microsoft's been under a lot of pressure lately. I mean, it's really been struggling. It's one of the stocks. Like if you come over to our market snapshot, it is in a correction, right? So if you come over here, Microsoft's in a correction, down 11.7%. Tesla, Nvidia also in a correction. Netflix in a correction. Meta's in a correction, almost in a bear market. Apple and Google are the only two stocks that are trading at near all-time highs, down like 3 to 4%. Yeah, Salesforce and Path report today. Temov, did you take the trade on Path? I know you were considering either buying calls or selling puts. Microsoft says sales for AI is dropping as users are hesitant on spending on AI. I think this is pretty inevitable. I think we have to kind of come to acceptance with that it's, we're eventually going to find an equilibrium with the demand and supply there. Trade desk support resistance level, Joe. Let's just take a quick look here. I know it's been selling off aggressively, and I would say a support level around $39, $37, $39. Resistance up to $43. Lululemon, Salesforce, Eli Lilly. Did you buy Tesla in the end? Not yet. I haven't bought anything yet. Does VIX spike to 20 once every month? No, not necessarily. There are many months that we might not even see a volatility get back over 18 or 19. So we have extensive analysis on this, but no, it's not true that every month we gotta see over 20. I took it. I'm in on both. Perfect. Incredible, man. You're just crushing it with all the trades. Amazing. The issue is with most LLMs is how they hallucinate. You give it a few days and there's guaranteed to be a time when it makes stuff up. 100%. I've had to correct, and that's why I don't use. It's hard to have a factual conversation, with artificial intelligence models right now because of that hallucination. They've had issues with giving me the correct data, the correct information, and when I ask it again, it just corrects itself, and then how can I trust the data that it's giving me when it's not even sure if it's going to be correct? So so I mostly only use it for non-factual conversations, like if I want to learn something new, the meaning of something, history, things like that. So, Microsoft taking a hit after the report, looks like pulling SPY down with it, could be interesting, but yes, Microsoft is pulling back as it does cut AI sales quotas, and tech, of course, is dumping on this news as well. It's revamping its forecast, lower software sales quotas, and then, of course, we're seeing a bit of a U-turn in this market as we just got negative. 0.5% down on QQQs. S&P is down about 19-20 basis points. Repricing risk remains one of the bigger concerns for this market, right? Repricing simply off of the revaluation, and if there's any changes in the forecast, because right now everything's kind of priced for perfection. Over the next 2 to 3 years, a lot of things are priced for perfection. That if we deviate from those, then it becomes challenging for the market. So tread carefully. Be very careful. Okay, just going to go over some few more stocks here. So let's take a look at Lululemon. Then we'll talk about Salesforce very quickly. So Lululemon, is there any momentum coming in? Continues to struggle, but this support level is holding up really well, so that's a good sign. 160, very strong support, although still fighting up that resistance at 185. So if you do get a breakout above this, next target is going to be $208 for Lululemon. Let's take a look at Teams. So very strong support coming down to this level here. I think Teams does make for a pretty decent swing trade opportunity, given how much it's been selling off and the very strong area of demand that it's sitting at around 150s. So resistance all the way up to 257, although I would put down a lower resistance level closer to 199, closer to $200. So that's still a pretty decent upside potential of 30%. What's just dumped this? ADP report came out earlier. That wasn't the reason why the market sold off, but Microsoft coming in with a pretty significant. Look at that. It's down over 2.3, 5 minute. That's the 5 minute chart. I just read over that report earlier. And that is that Microsoft lowers AI software sales quotas as customers resist new products. And as a result, it took down the market with it. So Nvidia also dropped on this news. We were green and then now we're red. VIX jumped about 4%, trading back up to over 17. Microsoft has been under a lot of pressure. Yeah, INDA, the Indian ETF. It's again, it has potential, but opportunity cost for me now has gotten to a point where I feel like there's better places to put capital to than INDA or Indian stocks. So I'm going to be doing a video on that very soon. But I feel like there's better places, better opportunities out there. Is this market manipulation? Some hedge funds forgot to load up for the Santa rally. Are we going to get a Santa rally this year? What do you guys think? Let's just do a poll. December 2025. Santa rally is coming. Santa is going to... No, Santa deals. Christmas deals. Christmas deals are coming. So, just so you guys know, Santa rally is coming. Means stocks are going to fly. They're going to be pushing higher to new all-time highs. Everything is going to be great. Profits everywhere. Christmas deals are coming means we are going to get an absolute fantastic sell-off where stocks cannot find floor, no bids, keep selling off, and we keep getting those discounts and deals. So how are we feeling this Christmas? How are we actually feeling for the market? Is there going to be a rally? Santa going to show up, or he's going to greet us with some deals and discounts? So what do you guys think? Definitely participate. We got over 300 people watching. I want to get at least 300 votes in this poll so that as expected, it's going to be pretty even, I feel. As nobody obviously has any idea what's going to happen, including myself. At the end, so it's 50-50. Oh my God. Of course you guys are going to put it at 50-50. Let's see if you guys can balance it at 50-50. Different challenge. There will be a rate cut. 100%. Well, 90%. There's going to be a rate cut, right? So market's expectations are really high for a rate cut. But that still does not confirm if that's going to lead us into a rally. I think Tom Lee puts us 6 reasons. Out of those 6 reasons, I think 4 of them are really just observations that he's making, not really any reasons for the markets to rally. I mean, one of the reasons where the markets were oversold. Okay? I mean, just because we were oversold does not mean that we're going to get a rally at the end of the year. But couple good reasons were there, for sure. 50-50, and then you get the deciding vote. No, I think people are leaning bullish so far. 52%. So, man, Microsoft is not stopping. 476. What do we got on our shopping list here? For Microsoft, we've got $402 at a light buy. We are getting close. It's not that far off. How much does it have to drop now? I think just over 10% or so. A little bit more than 10%. Yeah, 13% or so. 13 to 14%, and we're there. Light buys hit. It's getting there. See, that's the thing. When we talked about the $400 light buy at $550, people were like, no way that's going to happen. Ain't no chance that Microsoft is going to drop 30%. 30%. But now, you're telling me it cannot drop another 12? Cannot drop another 12%? 12%, that's nothing. You know? That's the beauty. Like, you have to Always believe. Always believe the markets can crash. Always believe the markets can give us some good deals. Okay, 51%, 49%. But we're still at 100 votes, folks. Where are the other 200 people? What are you guys? Are you watching the live stream while driving or what? If you're not driving, you're voting. Okay? If you're not running, you're voting. If you're not driving. But I know it's got to be pretty late in some parts of the world, so definitely do participate in the poll. I want to see more votes. I want to see more participation so we can have a pretty good data set. 10% ROI on the likes to view ratio. But yeah, Microsoft just keeps dropping here. I think Microsoft certainly is a lot more exposed to the circular flow because it also owns OpenAI than any other company out there. Because it also hinges on OpenAI's valuation, right? Because OpenAI's valuation has really ballooned over the last couple quarters as more and more companies have partnered with OpenAI. If I'm not participating, it's because I'm watching you on the TV. Well, then you better scream at the TV what your vote is. Okay? I want to get a video of you screaming at the TV, Dave, on what your vote is. Santa rally's coming or Christmas deals. I bet the poll of driving and walking would do numbers. Rally. Okay. Lot of Santa rally believers. I would prefer a rally, but I wouldn't mind a deal. That's my answer. I would very much like a rally because it's all the holidays, right? It's holiday time. You want to feel good about your portfolio. You certainly don't want to look at your portfolio and look at losses, but I wouldn't mind having some good deals. Dave needs to go to throwing coins in the fountain to help Bitcoin. Oh my God. All right, let's look at some stocks. A couple more minutes until market opens. APLD is on request by Kim Poi. So bouncing off of that support at $20 resistance right now. We're coming back up to that level, getting a bit of that rejection. So I can kind of make it a little bit thinner. I had a really fat resistance there. But yeah, so that's the resistance right now. Seems to be getting rejected a little bit in the past. And then another resistance all the way up here at $40. So support level, $20, $21. It wasn't in a bit of an uptrend. Sold off a bit, bouncing off of that support, and right now fighting that resistance. Good time to sell puts on Microsoft. So I would say 460s. Obviously, if you want to go all the way through light buys, then you can look at a month out, 45 days out, 400, low 400s. What are those premiums like? But then 460s is also a good starting point, given that it's been a pretty strong support for Microsoft. But long answer short, I would say yes, it is a pretty good time to be looking at selling puts on Microsoft if the plan is to accumulate more shares, especially given that it's selling off and it is down quite a bit. So what is a breaking move on AI results showing fading CapEx or Microsoft news like today? So Microsoft news definitely, is one of the reasons why markets are pulling back a little bit, but it's showing cracks in the circular flows, right? That's really what it is, because as I've mentioned before, everything will eventually get priced into the numbers, right? So if companies are pledging spending $50 billion over the next 5 years in developing their data centers, we're going to see that in their cash flow. How much are they actually spending? Is it more or less? If Microsoft says, hey, we're going to make X amount of revenue, from data centers and from OpenAI in the next 3 years, that's going to show up in the revenues. That's going to show up in the numbers. Everything that these companies are talking about is going to show up in the numbers. And so numbers will tell you the full story. And so if if markets are overpricing or if these companies are overpromising and they underdeliver, we know what happens, right? That leads to a significant discrepancy in expectations, and as a result, markets get repriced. But if markets are still underpricing what the future of AI could look like, and there's massive jumps in revenue that is not yet priced in, then yeah, I mean, we could get repriced on the upside as well. Okay, everyone, so markets are indeed open. NASDAQ is open now, up over, well, slightly down. QQQs are where? We are down about 40 basis points at the open here. S&P 500 is flat. We got NVIDIA selling off. Microsoft also already pulling back 2.5%. On the day, Ethereum, Bitcoin certainly leading. So Bitcoin's back over 92,000. Ethereum's back up to over 3,000. Tesla's up 1%. Gold pushing up to over 42.25. But I doubt if Microsoft's going to be able to hold up any kind of momentum right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to sell off along with NVIDIA. Volatility is up over 3.7, getting up to over 17 right now as well. So that's all for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Link's going to be down below if you're interested in becoming a member of the Moneyvest platform and the family. The new web and mobile versions are now available. And by the end of this month, there's going to be more features launched, fully functional. And starting 2026, we're going to be having more data sets added to the platform as well. So, as always, hope you all have a fantastic Wednesday, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are watching from. Happy investing. I'll see you.